Hi, this is Hall of Famer Chris Mullin, and you're listening to Jim on Base.
Welcome back to another episode of the Jim on Base Sports Show. For today's very special guest, we have on an NBA Hall of Famer, a two-time gold medalist, and he's completing Run TMC for me. I have now had all three guys on, so please welcome to the show, the great Chris Mullin. Chris, thanks for coming on.
Jim, my pleasure to be with you, man. I'm thrilled to be able to finish out the trio of Run TMC. My pleasure.
Yeah, we're ending it out on a high. And I got to say, I've never approached somebody in person really to have them on the show, so I was a little nervous when I saw you in the parking lot at the gym. I was like, I don't know if I should go up to him or not. And then I was like, you know, you only live once. So I was like, are you going to give me the full window roll down or the half? And you gave me the full window roll down, and we got you on the show. So excited to have you.
I applaud your persistence and your confidence.
Well, I'm curious, I saw you at the gym, so I think you still get out there and shoot some hoops, right?
Every once in a while. My gym visits are mainly getting a little cardio in. I do my PT for my various surgeries on my body, and then do a lot of swimming, some golf. So just stay very active, but I still like to get up there and, take care of myself and make sure the body parts are working properly and most importantly, keep myself out of pain.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm actually going to your gym right now because I go there for rehab. I had elbow surgery, so I'm just getting that fixed. And it's funny, I've had a lot of people on who are also fellow left-handers. So are you 100% left-handed or?
100%.
Oh, very nice.
Every sport, I right lefty, golf, baseball, everything lefty. And the only one in my family. I don't even have cousins. No distant relatives who are lefty. So I'm the oddball in my family.
No, it's funny because I'm the same way. Nobody else in my family is left-handed. And did anyone ever try to convert you, like with your shot or riding or anything like that?
No. I was just, I'm going to say maybe 10 years. People who are 10 years older than me, I think when they were in school, they used to try and make them righty. But I was... they left me alone, in all aspects.
Yeah, well, that's good. And one of the most important questions of this interview, where do you get your haircut? I have to know.
Where do I actually get it?
Yeah.
Or where did I originally get this?
No, where do you get it now?
Oh.
Do you have a certain spot you go to, or?
It depends on where I'm at, obviously. But when I'm in town here, I go to a place in Alameda.
Okay. Is that Razor's Edge?
That's where I originally got my haircut, but I don't think that's there anymore. I go to another place in Alameda, ironically, just because a friend of a friend turned me on to this guy Felix.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then if I'm on the East Coast, it varies, but I don't really need a haircut, but I just like to go because it feels good and
Yeah, because you're a high fade guy. I'm a low fade. What did you do during the pandemic? Did you do it yourself, or did you have connections to get someone to take care of it?
No, I didn't do it myself. Actually, that's when I met this gentleman, Felix, from a friend of mine. Because, during the pandemic, he was making some house calls. So that's my initial introduction to him. And then I have maintained my relationship with him.
Oh, very cool. And are you like every couple weeks? Because I get mine done every 2 weeks. I got to get it done.
During the season, I pretty regularly. After the season, I go a long time without getting a haircut in the summertime.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just remembered as a kid growing up, and I remember the Warriors had a promotion where if you came to the stadium and got your hair cut like Chris Mullin, they let you into the game for free. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I do remember that. When we did some of the supercuts over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of parents are kind of depressed about that, coming home looking like me. That's not too encouraging, but it's what you call a gimmick, though.
Yeah. So I was wondering, since you guys are Run TMC, you, Tim, and Mitch, are you a Run DMC fan? Have you ever seen him in concert, or?
I have not seen him in concert, but little known fact, Darryl McDaniel, who was part of Run DMC, was my classmate at St. John's University.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So are you guys close, or?
I mean, we knew each other. We kind of, when they came out and did that promotion with Mitch, Tim, and I during the playoffs, that's when we kind of really connected on how close we actually were. Haven't really been in contact with him. I know friends of his that do a lot of charity and philanthropic work with him. But back in the day, though, they literally were from Jamaica, Queens, which that's where St. John's is. So that was for most people, the birth of rap to a degree.
Mm.
But for us, they were just local guys that we knew from school.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I actually saw them a few years ago when the Super Bowl was here. I didn't know how rare it was to be able to see them, and they put on a great show. They're open
Yeah.
up for Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, they're awesome, man. They're trailblazers, man. Brought rap into the mainstream.
Yeah.
Amazing guys.
Well, what kind of music do you like? I think I've heard you like a little bit of everything.
I do.
Well, my favorite guy's Lenny Kravitz, and he's a fellow New Yorker. I was wondering if you're into him at all.
Yeah, I like Lenny Kravitz. I like his music. Yeah, I'll go. I like old school rap. If I'm working out, I'll do classic vinyl. I'll do a lot of classic rock. Elton John, Billy Joel, Eagles.
Oh, there you go.
I like the older music. I like 70s and 80s, mostly 70s. Really, that's what I grew up on.
Yeah. My first concert was Cheap Trick. That's who my dad took me to see, so I like them.
Yeah, I mean, in a weird way, I'm kind of stuck in my ways that way. I'm pretty progressive in a lot of ways, but music-wise, especially kind of like routine-based, So, I like the old school rock and roll and the original old school rap.
Very nice. Well, I have this memory growing up. We had this children's book I think you put out. I don't know if you remember it. And I think it was about your life or just about you during the day. And I remember just a picture of you. You had your dogs like in the bathtub. You were giving them a bath.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I remember I had that book growing up. And
oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Are you still a dog guy?
I am. So that was my original Akita. That's the first Akita I got.
Oh, okay.
His name was Kuma, which means bear in Japanese.
Hmm.
When he passed away, I got two Akitas together because I love that breed. It's like a challenging breed, so it's a lot of work, but
Mm-hmm. They're protective, right?
very and very temperamental and maybe overprotective. It depends. So then, I'm trying to think. I was working in Sacramento for 2 years. I bought another Akita up there, and for lack of creativity, I named him Kuma 2. And I had him for about 9-10 years. He passed away over the pandemic.
Ah.
And now my son, Chris, has an Akita, Kona, Kona, and she's a sweetheart. She's the friendliest Akita I've ever met. So, we kind of got that. We've had Akitas, and to be somewhat bipolar, we have Shih Tzus also. So we have
wow.
one of the biggest dog breeds and one of the smallest dog breeds.
Yeah, so the Akitas, they're kind of like having little Draymond Greens then, huh?
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, they got an edge to them.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. And do you go to the dog park or do you just walk them on the street or?
No, mostly in the neighborhood.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. It's kind of like my
therapy.
Therapeutic kind of. I go in the morning, I go at night. So
okay.
That's kind of how I start my day and how I wind my day down.
Oh, nice. It's no secret you're from New York. Are you from Jamaica area in New York or?
I was born and raised in Brooklyn.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Just off Flatbush Avenue, but went to high school in Manhattan and Brooklyn, went to college in Queens, and played all over the city basically my entire, childhood.
Mm-hmm. How often do you go back?
I go back every summer for a few months. Been doing that, since I moved out here in '85. We always go back. My wife and I, we're the only two from our family that are out of New York.
Oh, so she's from there too.
Yeah, yep. And so we go back every summer for a few months and enjoy the beaches. And we stay on Long Island and we visit our families and really just kind of kick back. And so we're getting ready to do that in a few days, actually.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Now, is it going to be really humid then? I went last year in July, and that was pretty brutal.
Yeah, we're fortunate enough. We're close enough to the beach. So, I mean, a day like today, I mean, not as drastic as San Francisco, say the East Bay, but similar.
Mm.
To where it could be probably today in Manhattan, it could be 95 degrees. And if you're out by the coast on the beach, it could be 75. So,
okay.
We're out by the ocean, so it's good.
When you're growing up out there, do you have favorite teams or players that you looked up to?
Yeah, so similar to here, Brooklyn, I'm going to compare to Oakland.
Okay.
So geographically, for the most part, Brooklyn Queens were Mets fans for the most part. We were Mets, Jets. I was a Ranger fan growing up, but I was definitely Mets, Jets, Rangers, and the Knicks.
Mm. Did you go to any games? Do you have any memories of your first game that you went to?
I remember my first Met game, just seeing that grass, man, it looked so fake, in the middle of Queens, this beautiful, well-manicured grass. We didn't have a whole lot of grass in the city like that, so that was cool. I may have went to one or two Knick games, like with like a school trip or something like that. I didn't go to any Jet games. Never went. I didn't go to any Reggie games. But when I was growing up, the Knicks won a championship, the Mets won a championship, and the Jets won a championship. With I think all in the same year. I think it was 1969-70. The Knicks also won in '73.
Wow.
So they were legendary teams with incredible players. You know, Joe Namath was the quarterback of the Jets, and
Yeah.
the Knicks had Walt Frazier, Willis Reed, Bill Bradley, Phil Jackson, you know, legendary coach Red Holzman. So I don't know if I meant Walt Frazier was my favorite player. He was so cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I love his facial hair and the sideburns, you know?
Still.
Yeah.
He's still rocking it.
He's got the dye going on.
Yeah. He's good.
Did you ever play at Rucker Park at all?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I played all over New York. So I was in high school like mid to late 70s, and every borough had their own kind of, they were leagues. They call them tournaments, I guess, but they were really leagues. Queens had Elm Corps. Brooklyn had this thing called Brooklyn USA. And in Manhattan, where Rucker is, they had Citywide, it was called. It was basically a league. And it wasn't just at Rucker. We would go to all different parks, but that was definitely one of the parks that would play in. But it wasn't like it is now. It was a park. It wasn't televised, and it was just like another park that we played in.
Yeah. No cell phone videos?
No cell phone, period.
So, yeah, how does that work? Are they inviting? Like, can you just go down there and play, or do you have to bring a team with you? Like, how do you prove yourself?
No, you could just go there and play. I mean, I was there a few summers ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's on 155th, and I think it's maybe Madison or 5th or something.
So it's way uptown then, huh?
Yeah, so it's,
Okay.
yeah, as far as I know, you just stroll in and play.
Oh, cool. All right. Maybe I can go build some brick houses, when I go there.
There you go.
So you were recruited by Coach K, is that true?
I was, yeah, heavily recruited, yeah.
And did you break his heart, it sounds like, then, or?
We got real close. I mean, he was relentless, man. You could tell, like, much like a great player, just his passion and discipline and work ethic, man. It was his first full recruiting season. I think he had coached 1 year, so it was his first off season.
Oh, okay.
Of recruiting. So yeah, he came to see me a lot. We spent a lot of time together. I still got 50, if not hundreds, of handwritten letters from him.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
It sounds like you kept a relationship with him then through the years, or?
Yeah. Ironically, soon after my college career with the Dream Team, he was an assistant on that team. So, Yep, he's a really good guy, man. Classy, and obviously college basketball's going to miss him.
Yeah. We had Jay Billis on the other day, and he had some great things to say about Coach K. It was fun to reminisce on his legacy.
Yeah, he's just a great guy. I mean, what you see is what you get. Consistent, has all his priorities in place, and just a great mentor and a teacher of young men.
Well, what made you decide to go to St. John's? Was it just the fact that it was so local, or did anyone stand out or anything?
Well, I mean, yeah, the fact that I want to stay home. I had everything right there. I had a great family, great support system in place. I'm one of five. I was a middle of five children, my mom and dad, very close-knit family. So when I took those trips each weekend, I remember, having a great time and kind of envisioning myself being there. And then after I got home for a few days, it kind of wore off. It's like always much more comfortable in New York City. And I had a pre-existing relationship with Coach Konaseca. I had gone to his basketball camp from the time I was 12 years old. So I got to know him personally. So I had a personal relationship with him, and that kind of sealed the deal, really.
We had Jim McMahon on recently from the Bears.
Yeah.
And he made a comment. I was curious if you relate to it or not. He said for him, from high school to college was a bigger jump than from college to the pros. Do you relate to that with basketball or no?
For me, it was not. For me, it was going from college to the pros was a much bigger jump for me personally.
Okay.
But I think a lot of that has to do with, for me anyway, maturity level, outside influences, and just being prepared to take on a whole different set of, challenges and things like that. And for me personally, doing it on my own for the first time, the one good thing about staying home was the support system, but it was also a lot of stuff was built in around me that, somewhat protected me and also made not stunted my growth, but, kind of protected me from what I eventually had to deal with, moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing that kind of stuck out for me, I watched a documentary about the Big East that you were in.
Yeah.
And how you were on the last college team in '84, I think, to get a gold medal, right? It was coached by Bob Nye, MJ, Ewing, all the big names.
Yeah.
You were playing in front of bigger crowds, I think, than when you got to the NBA, right? Initially?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, at that point in time, late 70s, early 80s, college basketball was more popular than the NBA. You know, that's one thing David Stern did a great job of turning that around, the reputation of the league. It was also a time in society where, you know, drugs and alcohol were really becoming a major problem, you know, not just in pro sports, in society in general. So that was something that had to be addressed. Yeah, so college basketball was much more popular and prevalent, especially like for us. You know, we had a really good team at St. John's. It was a popular historical program. When I was at school at St. John's, we were fourth in all-time wins in college basketball history. So I think it was Carolina, UCLA, Kansas, and St. John's. I think that was the top four. So it was a historical program, and we played a lot of our home games at Madison Square Garden. And if not every night, most nights, we had 19,000. 500. We sold the place out most nights. And at that time, the Knicks were not. On some days, we'd play an afternoon game with 19,000. Knicks would play at night. They'd have, 10,000 maybe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and my friend, we actually went to New York this past November, and we just thought it'd be cool to see the Warriors play the Knicks there. And it ended up being Curry breaking the record. So it was really a cool experience to see Madison Square Garden like that.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, it was fun.
That's a historic night. It was one of my favorite moments of the season.
Yeah, I've never been at a game where every time the Warriors had possession before he broke it, the entire arena would stand. I've never experienced anything like that, except for maybe when Barry Bonds would come to the plate and everyone stopped.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Steph has that effect.
Yeah.
I think everywhere Steph goes, they cheer for him no matter what.
Yeah, that's true. Well, when you were in college, is that when you kind of started getting recognized on the street at all? And how did you take that at first? Did you like it?
I mean, it's different in New York, and I grew up there. So, like, most of the people there, believe it or not, somehow I know them. I either went to school with them or I was one of five. So, New York City, there's a lot of people, but it's not that big a place. So, a lot of times, like I said, I went to high school and college and really spent my entire childhood all over the city playing with all different parks and gyms. And so, not that I knew everybody, but most people, there was some type of connection or someone knows somebody. So in New York, it's a little bit different. So it was never really a burden. It was always cool. It was fun. I mean, 99% of the people are cool, and it's nice to have that. It's nice to have people recognize you. And like I said, most people are nice, and it's all good.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about your coach at St. John's, Lou Carnesecca.
Mm-hmm.
What does he mean to you? Is he kind of like another father figure? Or I can tell he means a lot to you, though.
Yeah, I mean, so, obviously I played for him at St. John's for 4 years, but I had known him for 6 or 8 years before I got there. And now he's 97. So if I do the math quick, 10. So I've known him for 50 years.
Wow, that's crazy.
So yeah, way more than my college coach, and we've experienced a lot more away from basketball than we have with basketball. We, had a lot of great memories on the basketball court, but like a lot of those, great coach, he's a Hall of Fame coach, obviously for his incredible strategy and understanding of personalities and leadership and mentorship and teaching, all those great things he did. But really the best thing about him is he's just a very humble, giving, unselfish person. He wants to see others do well. He'll do anything for any of his players and anyone, really. Just a very common person, treats everyone the same. And like most great people, that's what he's done every day of his life. It's not for the cameras. It's not for winning games. That's just who he is as a person.
Yeah, well, that's great. And what was your guys' mindset going into the NBA draft? You ended up being the number 7 pick in the 85 draft. Were you hopeful you were going to go to the Knicks or stay local?
Yeah, but when they got the first pick, I knew that wasn't going to happen.
And Patrick Ewing was number 1, right? Fellow New Yorker.
Patrick Ewing was number 1, yeah. So that was the first lottery. I think at that time, the Warriors, maybe I'm gonna guess maybe the Clippers, Indiana. There was 2 teams I think that had the worst record. I think 20-62. I think the Warriors had the worst record. So obviously they were hoping for the first pick. They wound up getting there was only 7 picks in that lottery. So I was actually the last pick of the lottery.
So what were your initial thoughts about the Bay Area? Had you been there before? Or?
I had not been here before. My first trip here, I was in LA twice. I was in LA for the Olympics, and I think when I received the Wooden Award, I went to LA. So that was really my experience with California, was LA, Santa Monica, and the beach. So I was a little disappointed when I landed in Oakland and it was cold.
Nice and cloudy.
Yeah. But over time, it grew on me. I've raised my family here, and we still live here. So it's pretty amazing how I didn't see it as right away. It took me about 3 or 4 years to appreciate the Bay Area, but I love living here. I love everything about the Bay Area.
Where did you live initially? Were you in Oakland or?
No, I lived in Alameda initially.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yeah, I moved to Bay Farm Island, lived there for almost 5 years, and then we moved out to East Bay when I got married.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yep.
Your third season, I think the Warriors, they only had like 20 wins, right? And then it took a few years before you started winning 40-something games.
Yeah.
Did you kind of expect that or?
Um, I mean, when you come to the NBA as a rookie, there's no real expectations. I think I was really just trying to establish myself, figure out the rhythm of the schedule, kind of figure out basically everything, really, from where I was living, where the airport was. Basically, you're starting your whole life over.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a big learning process, big adjustment. Once I kind of figured it out, it was a pleasure. It was a joy to play, man. It was good for me, man. I love basketball so much to be able to do that for 16 years and make it my career was a blessing.
Yeah. Well, a few seasons in, I know you're under George Karl, right? Then Nelly came in. What was the Nelly culture like? Because when I would see him as a young fan, for some reason he always intimidated me. I feel like he always had a red face. He looked angry. But now he's like in Hawaii, right? He's got the long hair. And
Yeah.
is he more laid back? Or I'm trying to figure out what his deal's like.
Yeah, I mean, coaches in general, back then, 60s, 70s, it was a somewhat of a disciplinarian. To be good at anything, you need discipline, right? You need accountability, you need rules and regulations, and
Yeah.
so that's what Nelly grew up on, and that's what he knew. And he was a great, great coach, way ahead of his time. Tremendous vision, no fear, risk taker, and he had a unique ability to make practice fun while you're working on teamwork and strategy and individual skill work. He had a really good feel for that, and he made a real nice culture, as far as players respecting each other, playing for each other. Nelly was a Celtic. Nelly grew up on ball movement, fast break basketball. Passing was important to him, not over dribbling and including all players on the floor. And, so he had a unique ability. He was taught by Red Auerbach and played with and on some of the greatest teams of all time. And those are the things he tried to pass on and teach his team.
Well, eventually Run TMC formed, but you were there before Mitch Richmond and Tim Hardaway, right? So when you got Hardaway, did he feel like the missing link as soon as you guys brought him into the picture?
Yeah, Mitch came in '88, and it was just a breath of fresh air. And he's young, incredibly talented, gifted athlete, and he had an incredible personality, very humble and hardworking, and came in like a pro. First practice, he was an NBA pro. He was just so ready to be an NBA player.
And he's like football conditioned, right? Wasn't he a big football guy?
Yeah, he grew up in Florida, so he did have a football background. So he's very physical, very tough, very competitive. Physically strong, and he had all the athleticism and skill of a seasoned pro his first day of practice. So he was way ahead of his schedule. He was rookie of the year, had tremendous first year, and I think 8 or 9 consecutive seasons after that. I think he averaged 20 a game as a rookie, and every year after that went up. His scoring average went up like 8 or 9 years. So he's incredibly consistent. Very humble. The only reason you don't hear about Mitch as one of the greatest players of all time is he kind of doesn't want to be known. He just kind of likes to live his life and be under the radar. And as great as he is, it's hard to believe, but he's always been able to just kind of to lay low and, like I said, be kind of under the radar and very humble man.
I think Michael Jordan, didn't he say something like he was the hardest defender?
Yeah. I take that over any of his Twitter or all these people trying to think of greatest of all time. If Michael says it, I'll take that.
Yeah, that's when it's validated.
Yeah.
Is it true that Tim Hardaway, I think he mentioned when the Warriors drafted him, as soon as he landed, the three of you kind of played hoop? Is that true?
Yeah, Tim's a gym rat. Tim would do that right now. He's another guy. That's why we all got so close so quick. We just love to play, love to compete, love to play 3-on-3 together, 1-on-1, and we just love to be in the gym.
Yeah.
And through that, we made each other better. We had a very competitive group. We pushed each other. Our talents complemented each other. Our personalities complemented each other. And it was a great mix.
Well, it's crazy because, Run TMC, everyone talks about it and remembers it, and it's a big thing. But you guys are only together for 2 seasons, right?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But
Well, it just shows how lucky we are to have Steph, Clay, Draymond, and Iggy together for so long.
and they're lucky.
Yeah, that's a good
They're
point.
lucky they got kept together. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think they know that. I think they're grateful for that. But different time, finances were different, and just a different mindset, And then obviously once they got a championship, it validates, keeping them together. We never got to that point.
Yeah, do you think it would have happened if you stayed together?
I think some really good things would have happened. We were a little ahead of our
Mm.
time. They were still dominant centers, which they don't have now. So we always did have a hard time, whether it be Akeem and Patrick. There was so many dominant centers back in the day. I played against Kareem and Ralph Sampson, and every team had
Hmm.
seemed like had a big center that would give the small lineup trouble. So we'll never know what would have happened, but I think it's common knowledge if we stayed together and would have built around us three as opposed to trading within that three, we would have had some good success.
Hmm. Well, what was the vibe like for you guys and the rest of the team when Richmond was traded to the Kings? Because when I talked to him, it sounded like he was kind of depressed. He said he still lived in Oakland for, I think, that season.
Yeah, we were all shocked. We were all shocked. It made no sense to us. We're still pissed,
Yeah.
quite frankly.
Hmm.
But like they say, that's the business side, and you move on. But doesn't mean you like it or have to accept it. But you do have to move on and
Yeah.
do your job.
It's got to be great, all three of you now. Tim Hardaway is going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. So it's got to be great. Now you're all Hall of Famers, right? Because he was kind of the missing link for a while of getting inducted. So it's great to see.
No question. It was just a matter of time. You ask anyone he played with or against, he's a Hall of Famer. There's no question about that. There's a process that we all go through to get there, but it's totally deserved, and we're going to have a big party for him in September.
Are you going to be out there then, obviously?
Absolutely, no question.
Well, one guy I wanted to talk about was a teammate of yours, Sarunas Marciulionis.
Hmm.
You guys are good friends, right?
Yeah, one of my favorite people in the world.
Well, I watched another documentary. It's called The Other Dream Team. And, it kind of made me think of what's going on in Kyiv and everything now with his country. Did he ever confide in you with worries or stuff that was going on in his home area?
Yeah, I mean, just the way he conducted himself. He was incredibly grateful. I remember when he first came here and he went to Safeway to shop, he started crying because of all the food that was available. He grew up in a time where in Lithuania, under Russian rule, there was food rationing.
Wow.
So, just the things that he was so grateful for that we take for granted, something every day would pop up. He would give his view of it, which was totally different from our view.
And we think we have problems.
Exactly. Puts things in perspective.
Yeah, I think I even remember on that documentary, I think they said it took like 20 years to get a car from when you put in for it.
Yeah.
Just crazy. Well, I wanted to talk about the 92 Dream Team for a second. I just remember having that poster in my garage growing up. All the guys are on it. We had Lenny Wilkins on, and he was talking about how the practices were more intense than the games. And I always wonder what that meant. Were guys like kind of getting into it, or is it just the pace of the game was intense?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Any great player, really, I guess there's a few that don't go by that practice, but any great athlete, any great performer, you always practice and perform harder than you have to play. So when you get out there, you're somewhat over prepared, and whatever comes your way, you can handle. So there was 12 guys that's how they prepared themselves. Practice was important, and it was very competitive. You got some of the most competitive, greatest players of all time in one gym. And like Lenny said, and most people would agree that those were incredible practice sessions.
Well, how did the fanfare with that team? Because I'm always curious compared to Steph's fanfare, like with Jordan and then the 92 Dream Team. Did it compare at all with what Steph goes through? Was it more? Was it less?
Well, I mean, the comparing of generations is somewhat impossible, whether it be rule changes and, we've got some of the greatest players of all time that never played with the three-point line.
Yeah, yep.
Jerry West never played on a court with a three-point line. So the comparisons are, to me, somewhat useless to a degree, but there was one original Dream Team. So that's what it is, The second one was the second one. It was only one original. So with that came all original experiences, all things that happened for the first time. Doesn't mean it's better or greater, but it is the first time. With that comes a lot of iconic moments and players and experiences. And, much like you said, the 1984 was the last amateur team to win a gold medal. That is what it is. That's that's not compared to anything else. That's a fact now. So I think sometimes we get caught up with social media. I think maybe we run out of things to do. Every single move is the greatest move of all time. It's like, come on, dude, relax, calm down.
Well, what do you do with the gold medals? Do you have like a display, or do you keep them in a drawer? How do you do it?
No, they just tucked away.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering though. I had to ask: are you close with Michael Jordan at all? And
No, we don't talk, but we've had a lot of experiences together, all good ones.
have you played golf with him?
Years ago, long time ago.
Okay.
Yeah, he's too good for me.
You obviously had so many great years on the Warriors. When you were traded to the Pacers, did you see that coming, and how did you take it?
I did see that coming, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That was we worked on that together, actually. That was,
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
there
see.
was a point in time when we both had to go our separate ways, and we kind of did that deal together. So it was a group effort.
Was it kind of weird playing for Larry Bird when you played with him?
No, it was awesome. That's one of the reasons I went there.
So do you get like a different level of respect? You're kind of on the same level.
Nah, I wasn't on the same level with Larry, but we did have a good relationship. He respected my work ethic. At that point, Larry knew he was only going to coach 3 years.
Larry got the job, and then it became a much more appealing place to go. And he knew he was only going to coach 3 years. He wanted to coach a veteran squad. So he kind of put together an incredible team. We had incredible success the 3 years I was there. We went to 2 conference finals, 1 NBA finals, and then, so it was a great experience. Got to reconnect with my college teammate Mark Jackson, played with Reggie Miller and Dale and Antonio Davis, Rick Smith, Derek McKee, Jalen Rose, Al Harrington, so many great players. So it was cool. It was a good time, a good way to wind my career down.
Yeah. Well, what's it like to see Steph do what he's doing now compared to you were playing with Reggie Miller? Like, where does Reggie rank as a shooter for you all time?
No one's close to Steph.
Oh, okay.
No one's even close. He's in a class by himself. To me, he stands alone for a lot of different reasons. Yeah, I think there's no comparison.
Okay. You made 2 conference finals. You played in the NBA finals with the Pacers. And then how important was it for you to come back to the Bay Area to end your career? Because you played that final season here in Golden State.
Yeah.
Were you tempted to go to the Knicks ever during your career? Or?
Yeah, I flirted with the idea a few times. It never worked out. Yeah, coming back here was really, I came back to retire here, really. Not so much to play, to live, and then it worked out. I was more of a mentor that year a little bit to that young team.
Oh, okay.
I only played a few games. Yeah, it was really kind of like a part-time gig.
Well, being from New York and speaking about the Knicks here and there, did Spike Lee ever get on you? Did he ever heckle you pretty good when you came to town? Or
No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
I've known Spike for a long, long time. He's from Brooklyn, so if you mess with me, you'd have to deal with some other people on the way out of the garden.
Yeah. Well, in retirement, you got a GM job, right, with Mitch Richmond, and I just remember those years. And did you enjoy that side of the game, or?
I couldn't say I enjoyed it. It was a good experience. It was a really good experience. A lot of stuff that goes down. It's kind of, there's a lot more stuff you have to deal with besides basketball that I wouldn't categorize it as fun, but challenging and a good experience for me.
Okay. I know you went back to St. John's and became the head coach there. Was it pretty cool to coach against Patrick Ewing at Georgetown?
Yeah, that was fun. That was one of the highlights of going back was coaching against Patrick, and we had nice sold out crowds at guard and things like that, and kind of rejuvenated the energy there. Got to play Duke, Syracuse, so some of the coaches that was recruited by and had so much respect and admiration for, got to compete against them, and Jay Wright, and so it was fun. That was a cool 4 years. Yeah, so I'm glad I went back and did that, and another cool experience for me.
Yeah. Do you ever wish you could play in today's game with all the 3-point shooting?
I wish I would have shot more threes when I played, period. I don't know why I didn't. I wasn't that smart after all. I should have been jacking them up, but I would have been put on the bench, but not really. Again, much like the greatest of all time, I don't really live like that. You know what I mean? I'm kind of really, really grateful for when I played and the people I played with and against and the coaches I played for, and that would be just kind of like a waste of time anyway because it ain't going to happen. So I respect and admire the way these guys play, and I love the way the game is. I enjoy watching it. If I was born 30 years younger, I would be playing, but I wasn't.
Yeah. I was curious, if you could pick anyone that maybe you've become friends with in the league or played with, who's someone that you think would be a good guest that I should go after for my next guest on the show?
Well, first of all, you named like an incredible list of people you've already had. You drop a name as we're talking. I'm like, wow, you've got a lot of people on. So
I'm getting writer's block now. I can't think of anybody.
Oh, really? I'm probably a bad person for a reference because I can go days, weeks, and months without talking to anybody. I'd be totally comfortable with that. So I'm not your best, point of reference for that.
Well, I know who's on my radar is Antoine Jameson, and I'm trying to get a hold of Jason Richardson. I thought those would be fun guys.
They're two awesome guys, two great players. Antoine, I think you can look this up since you're a historian. Towards the end of the season, we did a crossover with the Phoenix Suns, and I was talking to Tom Chambers, and he was, to me, one of the greatest players of our generation. He really was an incredible player, and I think should be in the Hall of Fame. That's my personal opinion. Mm-hmm. And I looked it up. I think he and Antoine are the only two players that have scored over 20,000 points that are not in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, okay.
You might want to look that up to verify, but I do believe that's true.
I'm writing that down right now. I'll make sure I look it up.
And the other ones are, I think, active players are not eligible yet. I think they're the two that are eligible that have not been selected for the Hall of Fame. So that's a little trivia for you moving forward.
Yeah, cool. All right. Because Antoine was my favorite guy, and I'll never forget that back-to-back 50-point night. And I think Kobe had 50 against him, too, in that little streak.
Amazing scorer, incredible touch around the basket, a little bit ahead of his time in the fact that back then he was probably known as a tweener, like a 3 or a 4, but nowadays that wouldn't matter. He probably plays center now, the way it is. He had those little floaters, which a lot of people were not using at that time. He just had an incredible touch, and he had those back-to-back 50-point games. I think he and Kobe had 50 in the same game, I think.
Yeah, and nobody ever sweat like Antoine either. I remember it'd be 1 minute into the game, he'd be drenched. Well, Chris, thanks so much for coming on the show. Thanks for completing Run TMC. It was so much fun to have you on and get to know you a little bit. So I'll make sure to say hi if I see you around the arena or if I just see you at the gym.
My pleasure, man. Keep up the good work. I'll see you around, buddy.
Thanks, Chris.
Bye, man.
And there you have it. That was a lot of fun catching up with Chris Mullin, talking all about his career, some Olympic memories, and just an all-around great guy. So very happy that I could have him on and complete Run TMC. So hope you enjoyed that one. And if you haven't already, make sure to give us a like and a follow on Twitter. And if you have any guest suggestions, make sure to shoot me an email at gymonbaseshow@gmail.com. And we'll see you on the next one.